guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my recipe for Dhalpuri. Now, if you guys don't know what Dhalpuri is, it's basically a very soft roti dough that's filled with the split peas filling. The filling is flavored with some ground cumin, some garlic, some hot pepper. It's a really great roti, and as I said in some of my previous videos, there is no shortage of different types of roti in Guyana, Trinidad, and other places in the Caribbean. This is just one of them. I'm going to be sharing the rest of them later on my channel, so be on the lookout for those, but today it's all about the Dhalpuri. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Videsi Imports. Thanks for providing me with all of the ingredients that I needed to make my Dhalpuri today. So you guys are really gonna love this one. Let's get in. Here are all of the ingredients that I'm gonna need for my Dhalpuri today. In order to make the dough, I'm gonna need some flour, some baking powder, a little bit of sugar, some water, and some oil. And in order to make the dal filling, I'm of course gonna need my dal, some salt to taste, some roasted ground jeera. Now if you wanted to, you could take the actual cumin seeds and parch and roast them yourself at home. If you guys want to see how to do that, I did a video on that a little while ago, so I'll leave the link right up here so you can see how to do that. I also have some dye or turmeric, and I have some garlic and hot pepper. The first step when making the Dhalpuri is to work on your filling. So what I did was I got some water boiling in my pot, and just as it's coming up to a boil, you want to add in all of your dal. This is the dal that I took out of the package, and I just rinsed it really well. Whenever you're cooking dal or any type of dry beans, you want to rinse them really well. And at this point, I'm going to go in with some turmeric or some of that dye. And you can add as little or as much as you want. It depends on how yellow you like your filling. And I'm also going to go in with just a little touch of salt. You don't want to add too much because we're actually going to add a little bit later, just so we can start building up the flavors of this dish. So what you want to do is just go ahead and stir up your dal. Now we're going to let it cook for about 20 to 25 minutes, or just until that I see it's able to crack in the center. You don't want it to be mushy at all. You want it to be just a little tender. So I'm going to come back and I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Alright guys, my split peas are done cooking now, and it took exactly 17 minutes for my split peas to cook to the way that I wanted it, but the time can vary from anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys what to look for when one of these peas is done. So you want to be able to mash it in between your fingers, but it's supposed to be a little hard to mash in between your fingers. And when you do mash it, it has a little bit of a grain in the middle. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it has a little bit of a grain in the middle. So as long as you mash it between your fingers and it has that grain in the middle, then you're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this dal into a colander, and I'm going to let it sit there until it's cooled for the most part. It can still be a little warm, but I do not want to puree it or food process it when it's too hot. While your dal for your Dhalpuri is cooling off, it's time to work on the dough for the Dhalpuri. So into my bowl here I added in my flour, and I'm also going in with my baking powder at this point. And once you go in with the baking powder, you're going to add in some sugar. And the sugar just helps keep the dough really soft. And then you're going to go in with some oil, and the oil is going to keep the dough soft as well. Once you add all of your ingredients into the flour, you just want to mix it really well, so this way that oil can get incorporated throughout the dough. Remember, as I said before, that oil and the sugar that we add into the dough is going to help keep it nice and soft. So once you finish mixing up all of these ingredients, it's time to go in with some water. And just like when you're mixing any type of dough, any type of roti dough or bread dough, you want to use some nice warm water. Because if you use cold water, the dough is going to be stiff and you're going to get a tough product in the end. So you do not want that. When you're making Dhalpuri, you want a really nice soft dough. So just like in my sada roti video, when I made the dough really soft, that's exactly how I want my Dhalpuri dough as well. I do not want it hard because the peas in the middle, once we stuff them, those peas can actually dry out the dough. So you need the dough to be nice and soft. So I'm just going to keep adding water until all of it comes together. And then I'm going to show you guys how to knead this dough. So my dough has come together. All of the dry flour is mixed into this one ball of dough. But as you can see, it's pretty sticky. Now if you remember, the same thing happened to me in my sada roti video. But this is what you want, because you do not want to mix it too hard. You want to mix it really soft like this, and I promise as soon as you're done kneading it, it's not going to be sticky anymore. Of course, if the flour is super sticky and you can't even work with it, then you want to dust a little bit of dry flour, but don't add too much or else the dough is going to end up being tough. So what I'm going to do now in order to knead my dough is I'm going to add on about another tablespoon of that oil. just so we can smooth out the dough and we can start kneading it. So just like I said in my sada roti video, whenever you're kneading any type of dough, you want to go in with your knuckles and you really want to mash it down well. And my method for kneading includes mashing it down, and then you gather up all of the sides and you flip it over and you continue doing the same. So you want to do this for about 5 to 10 minutes, or just until the dough is really nice and smooth and it's no longer sticking to your fingers. By the time you're done doing this, the sides of the bowl should be nice and clean and your hand should be clean for the most part. So I'm going to continue kneading here, and then I'm going to come back and show you guys what the finished dough looks like. I've been kneading my dough for about 8 minutes now, and as you guys can see, the top's gotten nice and smooth. My hand has no dough sticking to it anymore, and the sides of the bowl are nice and clean. So you really want to make sure and take that precaution and go ahead and knead it really well, so this way you can get a nice soft dhalpuri in the end. As you guys can see, when I squeeze on it, it's no longer sticking to my hand, and that's exactly what you want. And it's a really nice soft dough. Also, when you're done kneading dough, if you push it down like this, then it should pop back up at you. If it doesn't pop back up, then it's not done kneading. So we're just going to let this rest for about 30 minutes because we developed all those glutens really well while we were kneading them, but now it needs a chance just to rest a bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of oil, just a little drizzle, and I'm going to put it over the top and just smooth out the top. And I'm going to cover this with a damp paper towel or one of those tea towels, and I'm going to let it sit for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to proceed with making the dhalpuri. Once your dal has cooled for the most part and it's only a little warm, it's time to go ahead and grind it. So you have a few choices for this. You can either use a food mill, like one of those things that you hand crank, or you can go ahead and use your food processor. Since I don't have a food mill, I'm going to be using my food processor today. So what you want to do is, in batches, you're going to put the dal in the food processor. You're going to close it, and then you're just going to pulse it until the dal is nice and crumbly, almost resembling coarse sand. So what I did was I took all of my garlic and my hot pepper and I mixed it in with the whole dal. So this way, as I'm grinding, the pepper and that garlic can grind with it. After a few pulses, this is what my dal looks like. And it's really nice and fine. It resembles coarse sand. And there's no more grain left in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty this into a bowl. And I'm going to continue grinding the rest of my dal. And then I'm going to come back and show you guys what we do next. I finished grinding up all of my dal in my food processor, and remember I had the garlic and the hot pepper in there as well to grind up with the dal. So once it's nice and smooth and coarse like this, it's time to add in some roasted ground geera. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in a little bit of salt to taste. Now remember, we added a little bit of salt in while we were boiling the dal. So what you're going to want to do is add a little bit here, stir it around a bit, and then you can go ahead and taste it and see if you want to add any more. I finished mixing the ground geera as well as my salt into the dal mixture. I went ahead and I gave it a final taste for salt and to see if it had enough hot pepper, and it was perfect. So my dough was resting for about 30 minutes, and after the 30 minutes I went ahead and I portioned them into equal sized balls. Now as you guys can see, I make my dhalpuris pretty small because my tawa is small as it is, but if you have a bigger tawa, then you can go ahead and make the balls as big as you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you guys how to fill the dhalpuris. In order to fill one of the dhalpuris, you want to get one of the dough balls and you want to go ahead and just flatten it out. What you want to do is you want to flatten the ends because you want the middle to be a little thicker, so this way when you roll it out, it won't tear. So I'm just going to spread the ends a little bit. And once you spread them a little bit, then what you're going to want to do is get some oil, and I have some oil in a bowl here with the spoon, and you want to drizzle just a little bit of oil and get it all spread throughout the dough. What the oil is going to do, it's going to help to keep it moist, so this way the dhalpuri doesn't dry out with your dal in it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my dal mixture, and I'm going to take just a couple spoonfuls. Remember, you do not want to overfill your dhalpuri. Some people like a lot of dal in their dhalpuri, but if you put too much, then it can actually burst. So I have a few tablespoons in there. I would say that's probably 2 or 3 tablespoons. So the best way to put the dhalpuri in on itself is to just go ahead and grab it with both hands, press in the middle, and then you're going to go ahead and grab the ends. And you really just want to grab the ends because you do not want it to be too thick on the sides. So I'm grabbing it, gathering all the edges. And as you guys can see, I've sealed the bottom. So this is one dhalpuri done. You want to make sure to seal it properly, or else the dal can actually come out throughout the cooking process, and you do not want that. So once you go ahead and seal it, just smooth it out a bit. And there you have one of your dal puris already filled and ready to cook. So I'm going to continue filling the rest of my dal puris, and then I'm going to come back and show you guys how to cook them. Once you've filled all of your dal puris, it's time to start rolling them out. So I got one of my dough balls and I dipped it in some dry flour. Now you want to use enough dry flour while you're doing this step and rolling it out, or else if it starts to stick, you can have a really big mess on your hands. And I also wanted to mention that I have my tawa heating up, so this way it's ready to cook my dal puris. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rolling pin and I'm just going to start rolling. And you want to apply an even pressure all over this roti. You don't want to be too gentle, nor do you want to be too rough to where it pops. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to roll it around. And you want to make sure to get the sides, so this way the sides are not too thick. You keep rolling until you get your desired thickness. Some people like a thicker dal puri, some people like a really, really thin dal puri. So it's totally up to you how much you roll it, as well as the size of your tawa. So this is good for me. It's nice and thin around the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on my tawa. My tawa is nice and hot, so I just put the dal puri on. And as soon as you put it on, you want to go on with a good amount of oil on the top. The reason for this is because since we have that dal in there, the roti is going to be very quick to dry out or crack at the top. And we want to avoid that at all costs. So I'm going to go ahead and rub some oil on this side. And throughout the whole cooking process, you want to keep the heat on a medium-high heat because you don't want it to burn, nor do you want it to cook too slow to where it dries out. Once you rub that oil on, you're going to go ahead and flip it. And once you flip the roti, you're going to oil it again on this one side. And you're going to see it starts to puff up beautifully. Once you do that, you want to flip it over one more time. Look how nice and soft this roti is and how much it's puffing up. I'm going to go on with just a little bit more oil on this one side. And you're going to see how beautifully it starts to puff up on you. I'm just going to give it a turn one last time. And that's a beautiful color. You just want little golden brown marks. I don't like my roti too crispy. So at this point, we're just going to fold it up. And we're going to put it onto a plate and it's ready to serve. Alright guys, here are my finished dal puris. They are so nice, so soft, and they came out just perfect. So I promise you guys, if you follow all these little tips and tricks that I gave you in the video, you're going to have some of the softest dal puris ever. So I wanted to go ahead and dig into one and show you guys what it looks like. So as you guys can see, it's really nice and thin. The dal is distributed evenly throughout that whole dal puri. And I'm just going to break it open and show you guys what it looks like. Look at that. It's so nice and soft. Really good, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. If you did, don't forget to give this video a nice big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet. And don't forget to hit that bell button next to the subscribe button so this way you can be notified on when I post my new videos. And comment down below and tell me what you guys would like me to make next. I'll see you guys again with another one of my awesome recipes. Until next time, guys.